2.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County Partnership Board of Directors meeting for March 17th, 2026. It is 4 p.m. We are gathered at 40 Matthew Street in Goshen, New York. This is a public meeting. It was noticed. It is being live streamed, and we are calling this meeting to order. I see present we have Kurt Kaler, Greg Peckham, Justin Giordino, Sandy Mathis, Ryan Hawthorne, and myself. We have a quorum. So we will now move on to approval of minutes. Everyone received the minutes in their packet. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes from our last meeting?
Well done minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to our financial report. Greg Peckham.
So in our last meeting, the Finance and Audit Committee met. We reviewed with the auditors our financial report, and there were no red flags, clean bill of health. It was we're fortunate to be in a good position, as we'll talk about a little bit with February's results. But in the end, the committee wanted to move forward to the board to approve the audit and our financial results for 2025. So all in favor?
And if I could add one little piece to that, Greg, thank you, Greg. We would also, this would be a two-fold motion. So we need the board to approve the audit. Again, like Greg said, clean bill of health, highly collaborative process, highly positive, but we also need authorization in that motion to allow the staff to upload the audit into Paris. So we would ask for approval of the audit as presented, and then the authorization to upload into Paris as well.
Okay. So motion to approve the audit?
Motion.
Any questions about approving the audit? No? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we need a motion for the staff to be able to upload the audit to Paris.
Motion. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Is that the last thing that we need? These others will be, Paris will be complete for you?
Yep.
Hey, let's go.
All right, and let the record reflect that Nick Carnavasos has joined our meeting.
Yeah, we happy to get through the audit, and credit to Cassie and our consultants who really rolled their sleeves up and made sure it was an efficient and collaborative process. So thank you, Cassie. Thank you.
No, nicely done. It's hard. I mean, it's a very detailed. These accountants can be painful. You know what I mean? I've been with them for a long time. Especially if they find something wrong. Yeah. That's really a problem.
Greg, do you want to go over the February financials as well while we're still in the financial report?
Yeah. So February demonstrated good health and some growth year over year. Although it may not be represented in the bottom line, our working capital remains strong, and our working capital ratio has improved now at 4.19 to 1. We have, although like I said on the bottom line, a slight year over year reduction to net income and gross profit, and that largely is just due to the accounts receivable timing that we talked about in the last meeting compared to this year. Expenses are actually down. It's just a change in the receivables timing and schedule from last year. So, otherwise, we're in a very healthy position. Our investment portfolios are performing well, and we continue to grow the assets and grow our ability to hopefully continue to operate and perform.
Absolutely. And I think it's to further reiterate your point, Greg. I mean, for the first time, we were at 881,000 last year in total checking savings investments. Now we've crossed the $1 million threshold again, so we continue to build our war chest.
As you mentioned, the cash position of the organization is spectacular.
And we continue to see growth in private investments. We just had our MVP event as well, which was profitable. We ended up netting around 50 $52,000 raised, roughly $83,000. Expenses continue to go up with event venues, just given the scarcity of options. But we think this event, fundraising wise now, because again, it's generally kind of volatile, right? It's all discretionary, the fundraising for events. It's really tied to the macro and then the conditions of a company's position at that given year. But we see this event kind of flows between 75,000 MVP to like 85,000, somewhere in that range seems comfortable over the past 3 years. So we're starting to get our footing as to what feels good. We came in at 83,000, which was good. We honored someone who was deserving, right? I mean, you go to these events and sometimes it's the same person honored over and over again. I think as part of our mission and our ethos, we need to be honoring people who are truly behind the scenes advancing economic development, and Will Frank is that guy. So we roll in from MVP to golf, to which we opened to the membership base today. We announced it. So you can register, and we've got a padding of roughly, we're at what, Cassie, 92? A little bit over.
Connor, before we jump into this, we need to do a resolution to accept the financials,
Sure.
the financial report. So Greg, did you have anything else?
No, like I said, I think that's really the most notable changes. Otherwise, year over year, it's the standard events and relatively standard, business year through February. So, motion to approve the February financials.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our motion carries. All right, so now the financial out of the way. Connor, let's roll into your report.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this brief.
Can we go back to, because you kind of started.
Yes, sure,
Right?
sure.
I don't want to think we can just move on and then get the question.
No, I think-
Or is that coming up later in the report?
No, we'll keep going, let's keep going. So as we roll into golf, so
Yes.
MVP, we both honored, I think, the right person at the right time, but then we kind of get a sense of where the revenue should fall. So comfortable net window there. We roll into golf, to which, as of an hour ago, Cassie, what do we have, like 100?
Yeah, we're close to 100.
We opened it up today. And
You have 100 commitments already?
100,000,
100,000.
Yeah. So we're getting there. We still have some work to do, no doubt. But it's the complexity here is, folks of course just want to buy foursomes. We only have a finite amount of foursomes. So at this point they have to accompany a sponsorship. That's the only way to reserve the foursome at this time, right? Until we sell our sponsorships at our number, because the foursome is the finite resource we need to sell. And luckily folks have been responding well to that.
Well, you sell paper cups, you sell napkins,
monetize-
you sell
monetize it all.
toothpicks.
We've got the
So
golf
I'm
hats
saying,
available still. I mean, the golf hats, that's a big one.
So with the bundles
Yeah.
that you guys offered at the beginning of the year, now there's additional leftover sponsorships of those.
And the bundle was a great idea by Cassie and Rebecca. The bundle was a way where folks who are planning, actually, Andy, you actually sparked this idea with staff. Folks are planning their budgets at the end or beginning of the year, right? So instead of us going to you for every single event, you can give us a number and we can tailor it so you're spread out across every single event, as opposed to you can budget in the beginning, it's predictable, as opposed to us knocking on the door every couple of months for an event.
Yeah.
So that's been very successful.
Well, that was going to be my question, is because I know you outlined that strategy, and I liked it when you did, because I don't like to knock on doors every 2 months. I think that gets exhausting, right? But I really didn't think about it. You do your budgets in the beginning; it makes total sense. So,
Yep.
you think that transition is really effective?
It's been incredibly successful, yes.
Because I know for us, it's just figured from my own experience, what we do is we sit down, John and I sit down, and we go, okay, this bucket, this bucket, this bucket. So we have the buckets, and then it's just sort of, frankly, annoying to keep track of the bucket through the year, rather than just saying, I'm gonna give you this much money. I'd rather tell you that now, and then I'm done.
Right.
You guys tell me what I get for that, and I don't have to think about it again. And I can tell my staff, like, this is, guys, here's what you gotta do, here's when you need to do it, and I'm out. And I don't have to be like, oh, I give you 10 for this, and 6 for that, and 5 for this, and whatever. So I think to the extent that we can maximize that, I think it gives us, you guys, predictability. You know how much money you're gonna have as like your baseline. And then I also noticed when you put out MVP that you're saying, or when you put out golf, you're saying, you gotta do a sponsorship with the Fortune. I think that's brilliant. Get that, because this event sells out all the time. And for the organization, the value proposition is in getting those sponsorships. Yes, everybody loves to go, and it's the, be there.
Sure.
It's early in the season, it's, the premier event, certainly for May, if not May and June. But I love that the combination of those things I think is really smart.
And then the staff is innovating in a couple different ways. Can you explain that wristband idea, Cassie? Just all these folks in here go to golf outings.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit? Really
So we get a lot of comments that people don't want to carry cash, or maybe they didn't know. A lot of these places don't even have ATM machines. So we came up with the idea to do a wristband, and we do 3 raffles. The raffle baskets, they're valued at about $500 a piece. We have the prize putt, which is on the putting green, and if you hit whatever's on the green, you get to keep that, and the golf cannon. So we combine all those things, and for $100 you get the wristband, so that when you get there, you don't have to give us cash. You can put it on your invoice, or you can pay for cash. Pay cash when you get there, but it just buys you into all those things ahead of time.
So you show up, you've got your
That's
wristband
smart.
already paid for.
Yeah.
You're at the venue, you show the band, you get access to all of that. I mean,
Right.
it's
And then
trying
the
to
only
make it
thing
easier.
additional would be the 50/50. and That's
You
always
pay for the
cash.
band there with a credit card?
That's right, yeah.
We don't take credit cards on
It's
site.
Disney, I was just
That
gonna
was
say,
the-
it's
Hmm?
Yeah, but you'll invoice.
But if you call and you say, okay, I
No.
want to sponsor
No, the
for
beers are always
towards the
free.
end, I want a foursome
Right.
and 4 wristbands.
It's just-
We'll just put it right on the invoice.
Yeah.
Working on that. Working on that.
It's better.
But the preloading has been great because every event has a pad, right? There's a pad, and we don't start at 0, we start at
Some number.
40-50% there,
Yeah.
right? So we opened it today. Folks are reacting really well, and if any of you have clients or friends who are looking to be part of the event, now's the time. So that's my sell. But super positive. As we get into the
And just to reiterate, your staff is coming up with these good ideas, right?
absolutely.
I just want to clarify,
Absolutely.
because I don't want people mistaking this for your value you're bringing.
For sure. Yeah, right. I did. Thank you, Ron. Thank you. No,
It's a team, there's
he's
no
on
I
the
team.
no wristband list, but. So to move into programmatic activities, and I'm going to keep this brief because I know there's a couple Irish folks at this table. I was down in late February. Kurt was there as well at the Hudson Valley Construction Industry Partnership Conference in Florida. First time, it was great in part because you've got 100 stakeholders there in the construction industry. I think I saw something back in there too. But it's 3 days of relationship building. It starts at 8 a.m. and ends at noon. You've got the rest of the day to do meetings and meet folks. There's a lot of our members, but also core partners that work with us on getting projects approved from the building trades, contractors. Met a lot of people I didn't know before. Our county executive was there, so that was positive as well. So just a good couple of days of relationship building. And Kurt showed me the ropes of the conference. He's a veteran, and it was positive, but very good programming. And I spoke on one of the days on economic development and activity in the Hudson Valley. In part, kind of explaining who we are, but separately giving a market update on the industrial sector, infrastructure, business park build out to the group of both our stakeholders we see at home, but also new faces. And that resulted in people reaching out and saying, hey, we didn't know about you before, but we want to get involved with the organization. We want to build a relationship with you folks from across the Hudson Valley. So very positive, and then I'll be going back next year for sure. It was good.
Nice.
Came back, went to the Orange County Chamber Gala. That was nice. Again, to stay in touch with our stakeholders again and touch all business sizes. So that was positive.
It's good to support community development.
Community
organizations,
development.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it. Yeah, you have to. And then separately, but last week we had Vision Hudson Valley, which is formerly the Citizens Foundation, come in and present their quality of life report. We were a sponsor of it, but really insightful. And I'm going to share it with the board. Timely data. Vision Hudson Valley hires Mount St. Mary to do an analysis of the economic conditions of the county, school districts, kind of all of the above. So it's 100 pages of really timely and interesting data. But they came and gave the presentation, and then so on and so forth. But we'll use it in our efforts to attract companies that need access to data timely. So it's exciting there. And then separately next week, so I'll be at the Site Selectors Guild in Atlanta. Now that's really our Super Bowl for economic developers. I know Sandy's been, I think MD has as well. It's the top 150 site consultants from across the country. So think the folks from Deloitte or PwC or Cushman and Wakefield, not brokers but consultants, former economic development people, attorneys, engineers who become site selectors. They're working for the Fortune 500 companies and advising them on location strategy. So you have to apply to get in the conference. It's not 1,000 people. It's 100, 150 site selectors and maybe 200, 250 economic developers. So unique couple days of building relationships, but that's exactly the network, how we won Project Dairy, Balchem, and a few of our other projects. It's meeting folks, mainly site selectors based in the South, who have no real experience in the Northeast, but they kind of have a client that's curious about it. They'll reach out to us through these associations. And that's how we get in the mix on projects. So excited to go down there. I'll be there with a coalition from New York, including Empire State Development, folks from upstate New York City EDC. So it's a good, not only for the business development aspect of trying to attract projects, you learn a little bit too in the industry, but also just good to maintain those close connections with our state partners. So looking forward to that. Next, March 25th, I think we're going to send an invite out to the board. Medline is having an open house. So Medline is announcing, it's an interesting case study, roughly 60 new jobs at their facility, but it is because they're investing in automation. So they're investing in state-of-the-art robotic technology, create 60 jobs. They're not decreasing their workforce, and in fact, the jobs are quite skilled jobs. They're machine operators, they're folks who are electrical engineers, repair folks. So this concept that AI is going to disrupt the industrial industry, of course it is, in some respects, but it's also in other ways going to supplement activities. So the way Medline is adopting the AI and robotics is it's meant to supplement their associates, make their lives easier, but also if they are removing jobs, it's more of the lower skill, repetitive jobs, so to speak. So they'll make that announcement, cut the ribbon next week, but exciting job announcement. And again, a case study on maybe we shouldn't be so afraid of robotics. In fact, it could create some high-paying jobs, so good news there. Additionally, we had a pretty tremendous meeting at West Point Military Academy. And I'll keep it high level because it is still generally confidential, and we're moving forward in a lot of different ways. But West Point is working on something called the Innovation Hub, which is a $2 to $4 or $5 billion investment in military innovation. And West Point is, in my opinion, one of the greatest untapped assets in the Hudson Valley. Right? It's the heartbeat of military technology and innovation. You've got amazing scholars, amazing heads of state visiting there quite often, but there's never been a bridge between the two. So the question that we posed as a team was, how do we build that bridge? How do we connect what West Point is doing in semiconductors and biotech and climate science to our efforts to build an economic development project, right? Because it's very siloed. They have a mission. It's a very specific mission. It doesn't really include economic development until our efforts now, right? So we are working to connect them to the broader semiconductor ecosystem New York creates, that Sandy's being helpful on, and a handful of other agencies, to try to use them as the anchor, that R&D anchor in Hudson and Orange County that we've been sorely missing for so long, as a way to drive activity. So amazing investment happening on that side of the county, and it's a critical time for us to plug into it. Because the one knock we have as an economic development community is the talent, right? We have to really come up with unique solutions to prove to a company that we have the labor and the talent to satisfy some of these more complicated projects. West Point I think is a way to help alleviate a lot of those concerns. So it's really quite excited about that. Additionally, we're set to announce a project called SPOG Trailers, SPOG. That's one that Lucas has been working on for quite a long time. I forget the code name. But they are a manufacturer of solar-powered trailers for commercial applications. You can take it as a camper. So for commercial applications, defense applications, and emergency management applications. So a lot of governments are buying them. A handful of states, FEMA is using these trailers. So it's an example of, we call it economic gardening. Right? It's a company that was generally a startup, had some seed money, had a backlog of orders. Our team was able to wrap our arms around them, connect them to resources like NYSERDA, the New York Power Authority, the Manufacturing Extension Program, help them identify a site, and now they're actually building these solar-powered trailers in the town of Walk Hill and selling them. So kind of a unique story. Additionally, it's public now, a company called Metalwise, a subsidiary of Newcastle Building Products. We worked with them to site them at a building in the city of Newburgh, where they're going to be manufacturing specialty coils, metal roof products, skilled welding positions. And it's a unique project. We call it singles and doubles, right? Not everything is 1,000 jobs. It's a 15-job project. But all of the jobs pay a living wage. They're skilled manufacturing jobs, from $60,000 to $150,000 a year. In the city of Newburgh, revitalizing a vacant building. So, you know, of course, we all chase the 100 jobs, 500 jobs, 1,000 jobs, but those infill projects at an older building that has infrastructure to where you can create 10 to 15 to 20 high-paying jobs, that's what keeps the lights on every day. So we continue to move forward there. At the same time, a lot of our work this month has been focused on Maybrook, the Galaxy Rail Yards, the steam park, and the complexity there that we had to work through was the Indiana bat season. Right, so you have, you know, maybe 2 more weeks to clear trees at your site and any site in New York. So we are currently working through that. It seems like we have a good path forward. That site has been worked on for like a decade, so there's a lot of starts and stops in the permitting process and the DEC review, but Region 3 has been great to work with us as, you know, Albany Central staff, and it looks like the trees will be cleared uniquely, not by folks in excavators, but by men and women walking with chainsaws, given some of the environmental sensitivity on the site next week. So you see movement with the site development efforts, and that's critical because you drop the trees, that paves the way for actually paving the roads that lead to the pad sites, and then also a handful of users that are actively contemplating going to the park. So, you know, proof of concept on what Maybrook we think it could be, and again, there were some bumps in the road getting here, but it looks like we're start soon to see construction activity. Yesterday, had the privilege of spending time with Ryan and Anthony Campigiorni at Central Hudson headquarters, and we did the same thing in Orange and Rockland a few months ago. And you know, we recognize that the utilities are perhaps one of the, if not the most critical partner we have in economic development. Every project that we talked about yesterday is more power intensive than it was last year or even last week for that matter. And we have our utility partners at the table in every single project. Because now it's one of the first questions the prospect asks. You know, it used to be if the site works, then you bring in the utilities subsequently and you continue to bring them in. Now you need a Ryan Hawthorne at the table to validate a site before you even truly get in the hunt. So it's good to spend time with them. We also had a unique meeting with the USDA, federal agency, in part because we're working on a handful of cider manufacturing and ag-oriented food projects. And the USDA has some unique federal tools for financing you can tap into that are very underutilized. So we had the regional administrator in this office with Steve Gross from county government, and just a great resource. And you know, we always want to be an organization that when we get a prospect that has a unique need, we have the tools and the folks who we can, you know, and the Rolodex to call on. So the USDA seems to be one of those folks. And then lastly, we had, and MB was on this meeting as well, we had a unique regulatory reform meeting with the governor's now regulatory czar, Zoe, do you recall her last name? Zoe something. She was great, but she's doing a roadshow meeting with leaders regionally across the state to kind of understand where the pain points are with items like seeker or with the regulatory agencies with some of the governor's budget proposals. So I thought it was a positive discussion. And it's just good to be in the room and share perspective of our stakeholders as the governor's contemplating the budget and contemplating some generally exciting regulatory reforms. To be at that table is, I think, good for the organization, no doubt. So it was a busy month, but an exciting month. We continue to work the pipeline. A couple of good announcements. Business parks continue to advance. Engaging our members. Cassie's doing a great job of making sure that we're constantly seeing and touching and hearing from our members to make sure that they feel like they're heard. And then we continue to advance the mission with events, stakeholders, projects, business park sites, a little bit of travel. It's a good time to be in economic development. And again, we roll into golf in May, and then we'll have an ABG either April 15th or April 23rd. And the topic on that will likely be a regulatory roundtable with the heads of the DEC, DOT, Department of Health, so our stakeholders get to meet the folks that are actively reviewing and advancing their projects and learn best practices and how to go through the process. With that, that's my TED Talk. Happy to answer questions.
The West Point opportunity, it just gets me thinking about sites closest to them.
Yeah.
Do you just know offhand the update that is it Cornwall, where the private school is in military school?
Yeah,
that is such a great site. Is there anything happening there at all, or is that fair game?
So, the concept, and it's been made public, is there's a new owner of that school, they'd like to turn it, actually revitalize it as a college, military-oriented college. But there is a 100-acre site adjacent that, could be fair game for mixed-use development, industrial, commercial. But the school site itself will likely end up remaining a school in some way, shape, or
Is
form.
that foreign ownership still?
Still is, yeah, still is. So there's complexity.
So you're saying that that's available, and as is the other 100-acre site,
Yes.
if something,
Yep, at this moment, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
and the town is doing some housing things, that's not the location, right?
No, nearby.
Nearby,
But yeah, that's right.
Okay, but they're advancing a housing project, right?
Yes, yes. But your point on sites near West Point is critical. The concept that we brought up to West Point leadership, the colonel running the Innovation Hub, was to develop this defense technology corridor, right? Because they're working with contractors, large contractors, BAE and Boeing and you name it. So how do we co-locate that manufacturing close to the R&D heartbeat? That is West Point. So the puzzle pieces are there, and I think we took a good step in trying to connect the dots. Now we're running out of euphemisms to use, but that is again our fatal. The issue that we continuously deal with is labor and talent. We have the one of one asset in the United States. We have to use it, and we're taking steps to do that.
If I remember correctly, infrastructure is really challenging in that whole area too, because I think West Point is so totally self-contained, right?
Mike's got electric group ideas. so.
Yep, and,
Right, it's an interesting area, yeah.
West Point has its own water system,
Right.
its own sewer system. They do not share.
Right.
They're friends and neighbors.
Mm.
And yeah, I think we took a quick pass at looking at that site. It would need some work. I think there's some really interesting transportation opportunities there. I will not say constraints, I think if you flip it around, there's an opportunity there. But there's some work to be done. It's gonna require a cooperative landowner, It's an interesting site. I think it's got so much upside. It's just, you need parts to fall in place. Cause that's another issue, right, is the reservation. You look at the geography of the reservation and its restrictions, it really limits those co-location opportunities. But, I don't know if if you've taken a hard look at the village in terms of redevelopment sites, because I think
Sure.
there are a host of redevelopment sites
Mm-hmm.
in the village that perhaps aren't zoned for redevelopment today, but
That's right.
could potentially be with some work with the community.
Yeah, there's actually an old 40,000 square foot school that has been on the market for a little bit, or is quietly available and well positioned for some sort of light industrial R&D operation, and so it's exciting out there. I think it's the next frontier, and that's how we connect the dots here. But yeah, it's been a lot of starts and stops with the effort, but just given the scale of dollars and innovation happening on that side of the county, I think we need to bridge the gap.
As all the exciting things you talk about, you just rattled 15 or 20, I lost count, right? Really good stuff. But the proximity to West Point and what could happen there, that just goes right to the top of the list for me in my head of co-location or partnerships of value for companies that want to be, it's very comparable but just different than New York creates. Different sectors, semiconductor, but
Right.
anybody that's in that world wants to be at New York creates.
Right.
And I think the opportunity here, anything that's in the defense, and the one thing that defense doesn't run out of is money, right? It's just always a top priority of the federal government. That I just think in your spare time, maybe just take a little closer look down there and let's just start working on it a little bit. And that can be evolved into the strategic planning
Sure.
kind of initiative we're doing. But out of all the stuff you talk about, that the upside is almost limitless, right? And the kind of jobs that you want to create.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we can talk more about
It's
it.
exciting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Other questions for Connor? Anybody? Okay. We'll move on to our business here. So in your packet, you guys have two resolutions and documents that we need to consider. These were just adopted by the governance committee for consideration by the full board. The first one is adoption of the Code of Business Conduct and Ethics.
No, you're not. It's in your packet.
Oh.
The resolution.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
Mary Beth,
okay.
only you have the resolution, everybody
Gotcha.
else has the.
Okay, so you guys have the
Policies, yeah.
documentation. I will point out that on the, Code of Business Conduct and Ethics, on the last page, under I also agree to the following, that paragraph says when conflicts are identified, the executive committee will review them and take any necessary action. As you all know, we no longer have an executive committee, so we're going to adopt this striking executive committee, and we're gonna say the board of directors will review, right? And take up any action, or maybe, yes,
Sponsor to their government.
governance. So governance committee of the board of directors will review and take any necessary action. So that's one amendment to that. So, we do need to adopt this, and so we have, the board of directors hereby adopts and approves Code of Business Conduct and Ethics Policy, serving as official policy governing ethical conduct of the organization, and the officers and management of the organization are authorized and directed to implement, communicate, and enforce the Code of Business Ethics, Business Conduct and Ethics, including distributing the policy to all relevant personnel. So I will ask for a motion to adopt the Code of Business Conduct and Ethics with that amendment regarding Executive Committee 2 governance.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's that one. We have one more, which is the conflict of interest policy. And yes, these are very similar, and they do not contradict each other, but they do follow along with our policies. That document was considered by Governance Committee and recommended to the full board. There are no amendments to it. And so for this, we are looking for the board of directors to adopt and approve the conflict of interest policy, to serve as the official policy governing conflicts of interest for the organization. So I will look for a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion of the conflict of interest policy? It is the same one from last year.
And the reason we're doing this is because the Authority Budgets Office requires us to reauthorize or amend each of these policies every year. So it really is just a procedural box checking exercise we need to do for the year.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our motion carries. And then our last piece of information before we do our industry update from Kurt is we have this document. You guys should have this. It's the one with the color on the top. It's from the Authority's Budget Office. It is the annual review evaluation of board performance. So what everyone needs to do is fill out the this is a self-assessment of our performance as a board. Please fill this out and get it to Cassie. She will then roll all of our responses up into a summary that will get submitted to the ADO. And I think, are we doing this on the 1st, April 1?
It's due on the first, yeah.
It's due on the
Good, it's due.
So, you guys need to, you have a couple weeks at the
12
longest.
boxes. Really quick.
12 quick boxes.
12 quick boxes. In fact, you could even, not that we're not gonna listen to Kurt, but you could do it while you're sitting here. So that we have that documentation and then Cassie can put it all together. And the only other thing that I will say is after Kurt's update, we are not going to have an executive session today. And then we will, after Kurt's update, we'll be looking for an adjournment. And I just want to make a quick note that our next board meeting is April 15th.
And did we also do the bylaws?
We did not. Good call.
We need,
They are not here.
so we would ask additionally for bylaws.
Okay, so, sorry about that, they're not on my agenda. We also, Governance Committee also adopted, reviewed and adopted the bylaws. They are the same bylaws we adopted last year. There were no changes or amendments. So I'll look for a motion to adopt the bylaws.
So moved.
Thank you for breaking the 3 for 3, exactly.
Any discussion of the bylaws? All right, hearing none, ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Sorry about that. So let's move on to Kurt, industry update, and you got to add to Greg.
Okay, so let's, construction, and we'll talk about electrical contracting. So over the past year, we've seen a significant increase in workforce demand, with our own workforce growing by 70% compared to this time last year. 70%.
Wow.
Now in construction, that always goes up and down. It's never, sustainable. So, but it's good. It's good. It's showing us a good trend right now. While 2025 was relatively slow in terms of bidding activity and pre-construction budgeting, we are beginning to see a modest uptick in opportunities compared to this time last year. In particular, we're seeing more medium to large projects entering the bidding phase, whereas last year there were only a limited number of opportunities at this scale. It's also worth noting that we're seeing some existing customers who established operations in the Hudson Valley in recent years are now reinvesting in and expanding their facilities. And there's some real good opportunities that we're targeting and looking to do with them. As for new construction, logistics and distribution warehouses slowed down somewhat, but these type of buildings remain highly adaptable and can be repurposed for uses such as manufacturing and other applications, and that's keeping us hopeful also. So even though these Amazons and other logistics centers are kind of, the new construction aspect of them are slowing down, we're seeing new opportunities come from those same type of buildings. We're also seeing a major investment tied to high-performance computing infrastructure and advanced technology research facilities, which are being positioned in the Hudson Valley as a leading location for the next generation computing and technology development. There's a user particular, but it's confidential at this time. The construction industry typically lags the broader economy by about 6 months to a year. So we pay close attention to economic trends, especially when it comes to commodity volatility. Copper is one of our biggest costs and has significant price fluctuations, and that can impact how we price work, procure materials, and manage overall costs. We also pay close attention to trends related to industries. As noted in Greg's report he shared last month, our industry is closely tied to the performance of regional businesses such as Peckham and others. When those sectors experience slowdowns, the effects ultimately ripple throughout the construction as well. I don't know if anybody remembers, I'm sure they all do, from his fabulous PowerPoint last night. He pointed out the lack of road work going on, and that ultimately affects everybody downstream to support his operation. So I took major note of that.
Sounds like ABG's an opportunity to press the flash.
Yeah. Looking ahead, a little new direction here. Looking ahead, I can't emphasize enough that the region's long-term growth will largely depend on the availability and reliable energy infrastructure, particularly sufficient baseload power to support expanded industry and economic development. It is bar none going to be a major factor going forward in this area. So overall, the pipeline appears to be improving, which is an encouraging sign for the private sector investment in construction activity in this region. Continued collaboration with our partners will be critical to build on this momentum and sustain long-term growth. Does anybody have any questions?
Just a comment on that. I mean, part of that, with having, not just having power available, but also what's been a struggle recently for us is the added regulation from, let's say, DEC right now has this new system that all blacktop plants in New York are required to put in over the next 3 or 4 years. And it's another 250 horse motor that we just don't have the power for in all of our sites. So, trying to balance that and figure out, okay, like the argument we're having in DC right now in our Bronx location is like, so what, you want me to put a generator in now to support my clean air, project,
right.
tell me how this
How
is
this
supposed
makes
to work
sense.
here.
Yeah.
But we just can't get more power on the site. It's
And does
it-
DEC then say, oh, okay, that doesn't make any sense? And-
No, it's more of a figure it out, show us progress. As long as you're continuing to if we can show them that we're working with Con Ed, we're trying to get
Interesting.
power to the site, they're willing to extend, but they still expect that you're going to be in compliance.
And where we can step up is, with our efforts, support partners like Greg to do whatever it is we can so he can achieve whatever goals and standards he needs to do his operation wise.
That's going to be a challenge, as more sites that get built. I'm sure all these new all these new warehouses, everything the standards are higher, and they just require more and more power. Not just because of the robotics or automation, it's also the regulatory environment that's requiring so much additional work. Yeah.
It's really, this happened in the water industry a while ago, and, so with two pieces, right? So the building code was changed in 2018 to require wet charge sprinkler systems in basically any structure where there's overnight habitation, right? So if you're gonna sleep there, then you gotta have a fire sprinkler. We objectively do not have fire sprinklers everywhere where people sleep, right? It's just not happening. Because the water infrastructure wasn't designed to do that. Literally anywhere. Biggest New York City, not designed to do that, right? So, and then the other piece of that has been with aquatic biology, temperature, right? Reducing the temperature of some of our discharges, whether they're industrial or municipal, so that we're supporting, cold water fisheries in a lot of places. The medicine is worse than the disease. So you're telling me you want me to put in an enormous chiller, but I'm gonna go to Ryan and say, remember I told you I need all of this power to run this fancy wastewater treatment plant that, basically turns sewage into drinking water. Now, in addition to all of that, I need to run a chiller 3 months of the year. You got power for that, right?
Yeah.
So what's happened is, we basically have made the argument in both of those cases, the solution is worse than the problem.
Yeah.
And on that side of the fence, because this has been going on for a long time, 2018 was, a while ago, and the application of the regulatory standard for temperature has been around for a very long time. It has never been applied. Now it is suddenly being applied, but we go and say, all right, take your pick, environmental people. Would you like us to, get this power and run a massive chiller, which by the way, then when the power goes out, do we need a generator? Is that generator Billy tank with diesel? Because wastewater treatment plants are not exactly in the middle of urban areas, right? So what's the expectation? And when we make that argument, they kind of go, we don't know, right?
Show me progress.
Right, so we get back to so put it on a sheet of paper someplace.
Yeah.
It's a little, that's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
I think it's because now there's this sheet of paper floating around in the world, and probably, it may not come back to us, but somebody in the future is going to say, I have this sheet of paper that says you were going to do this 10 years ago. Did you do it?
And it's a new
But you're also faced with these companies choose not to go down these roads and comply. They might scale back their
Right.
operation. They might
Yeah.
do something different. And again, trickle down, it's going to affect me. That supports their operation.
I will tell you, the one place where we see the fire thing coming into play is new hotels. Every new nameplate hotel, no matter who's building it, we have to figure out how to do wet charge sprinkler systems all the way to, if you got a 5-star hotel, we gotta figure it out. That's the one because their insurance carrier won't insure them if you don't need it. So that's one of the reasons you see, I know Sandy's worked a lot in hotels, the delivery of hotels, getting hotels up and running in New York State takes a really long time. In part, that's one of the reasons.
Sure, and even on some commercial buildings, the insurance drives the level of investment, particularly on water flow for the sprinkler system. And one that comes to mind is Empire Merchants North,
Yeah.
which was full of booze. That shit burns. It's you hate the thought of all that bourbon and scotch burning, but it was because of what was in there caused the construction of a major water tower. behind the building to
And their
feed
water,
that.
their sprinkler system is so
Yeah,
sophisticated.
yeah,
So when it detects a fire, it evaluates if it's really a fire.
yeah.
Then it evaluates exactly where the fire is. Then it's smart enough to only turn the suppression system on where the fire is, so that it doesn't destroy millions of dollars worth of, of product
Yep.
elsewhere.
Yep.
And it was, I think at the time, combined with the tank, all the controls, the computer system, and the application interior was like $3.5 million.
Yeah, and then
Just for the fire, and that was a long time ago. When did we do that?
that project's 15 years old, and that didn't count the 5 million conveyor system.
Correct.
With all the high tech of moving the cases of booze around. It's
Yeah, 'cause
unbelievable.
there's only, that's a huge, we have 250,000 square feet.
It's actually, I want to say 320.
It's huge.
Expandable to 5, yeah, it's big.
There's like 6 people on the floor.
Yeah.
Everything else is run by a computer.
Yeah.
It's something.
And then something else Kurt said on his clients, looking to expand and evaluate. We're seeing the same thing, as is the site. I spoke to sites like last week, but I'm going to see it in Georgia next week. And he said no time in his career has he seen more of his clients looking to double down on their locations than relocate.
Yeah.
There's so much volatility. It's, can we eke out another, 25,000 square feet in a production line or more warehousing space at our existing site and supply chain optimization as opposed to new facility investments.
We always love the new construction is always the sexy term out there, but these opportunities now of these companies come in here, they're setting up shop and they're making new investments again at their locations. It's great.
That's great.
Greg, as part of that discussion in the Bronx, did battery storage at all come into the play by them, DEC, or are you guys thinking about just more capacity?
Or it's especially you're on a postage stamp, you just have so.
Oh, you don't have the land mass to do it.
Yeah, even if we had as an option there, our biggest challenge is, it's something to see sometime. That 10,000 ton move out of a site that can barely hold like 10 trucks at a time. It's pretty crazy.
We're batting 1,000 on presentations.
Yes. Kurt. Who is next month?
Who do we have next up?
I have to look. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think I'd love to have an exciting accounting presentation. I think that would break the
Accountant.
We got one in January. You already forgot it wasn't that good, huh?
No, you didn't stand out, so that means you were good.
It was DOD, Cybersecurity. Talking about West Point, talking about,
No, it's still different.
it's all tied in.
All right, folks, so, do your AVO form, give it to Cassie, please. Also, another note, by the way, everybody once a year has to do their state ethics training. There's you can get the dates. I just did one, it was 20 minutes of a PowerPoint running background, listen, pay attention. It's not painful, just sign up and do it. When you sign up, your name and any organization you're associated with that requires that is registered with the state, so then you're good. So make sure you do that. And we do not have an executive session today. Next board meeting is April 15th. Stay tuned. And unless anyone has anything else, I'll take a motion to, Cassie has something.
I believe that initially when you're on the board, you have 12 months to do the training, and then the AVO recommends you do it within the next 3 years.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I must have had to do it for something else I'm on.
You might, 'cause you get
Some other board
Right.
I get the notice and says you must do this. Okay. Excellent,
Is there
excellent.
a reminder we get or not really?
Cassie.
I
Yeah.
get
Usually reminders,
I get reminders, so.
You saved my life.
Cassie,
All right.
did you set that invite for that meeting yet? The next month, April?
April
Board
15th.
meeting? Yeah, have you set that invite?
No.
Because I don't have, okay.
it should be in your calendar.
That's what I mean, it's not on my calendar, that's what was making me wonder. You guys have it on your calendar?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, calendar invites in advance are really, really awesome.
In like
And
way in
people don't-
advance.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind you send it all year if you have it.
I did.
I think
Oh, you
I
did
did that in
already.
January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, because this, today's was on, I don't know why.
I also don't see that one, but unless I would, unless I
It's
would
on,
find it.
it's, that says the 15th, which is a Wednesday? Is that correct?
That's the same day as the ABG.
I don't have that.
You don't have it either?
I don't have it.
I actually don't have it either.
21st.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't have next month either.
I have the 21st.
Yeah.
You got it as the
The
21st?
21st, which is a Tuesday.
Oh, I have.
It would be
I
a
have it.
Tuesday.
So I do see
It's
that.
the 21st.
Yeah, I was just-
I know you said every month.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yep.
So Cass, is it the 21st?
21st.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I do have that on my calendar.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's just a board meeting, there's no.
Just a
Right,
board
no, I want to see if I can log you into
All
that.
right, so April 21st.
Sandy, do you have that?
Yeah, I do have
Okay,
it,
so
yeah,
I wrote the tape.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just see if
Right.
you logged in.
Anyone have anything else for us today?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion about adjourning? If not, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Happy St. Patrick's Day for those who